25 minutes before 10 o'clock. Thank you for tuning in. Beautiful Friday morning. If I had a device that showed me how many listeners we have at any given time, I think the numbers would be up right now because our listeners have been looking forward to this interview. We've promoted it. It's something I've been looking forward to so much. I don't know much about the Lusitania, and many of our listeners know way more about it than I ever did. So I had to kind of, cheat and look online and stuff. But the book, The Lusitania Conspiracy, while it's a novel, clearly is a well-researched book about the history of this amazing ship that was sunk by torpedo. And I don't know that anybody's ever considered that it might have been a conspiracy. It might have been something that we knew was going to happen in advance. And if so, that means we knew people would die in advance. They say the same thing about Pearl Harbor. They say we knew in advance. I don't know if we'll ever know any of these things. But this is such a fascinating story. And it goes beyond the ship. There's another word, if you want to say it's a name actually, that it comes up all the time that brings up some very interesting talking points. Nikola Tesla comes up all the time, right? Yes. Now you know the name associated with these cars, but he's a guy that you'll always... Nikola Tesla is to Thomas Edison as the Lusitania is to the Titanic.
Yes.
It's like both. How could we miss these two stories? And they come together in this book, The Lusitania Conspiracy. It is written by Ronald J. Walters. He's on the phone. He's a researcher and an historian. And turns out he's able to take these historical facts and make a wonderful story that'll just make you think. The 100th anniversary of the sinking of the Lusitania was on May 7th, is that right?
Yes.
May 7th. So it's just over 100 years now. Good morning, Ronald Walters. How are you?
Good morning, Larry. How are you?
Pretty good. Sounds like there's a delay. I apologize for that. Where are you calling from?
Traverse City, Michigan.
Oh, in Michigan. All right. Well, thank you for being on the air with us today. Tell me about the Lusitania. Give us some factoid stuff, just little facts that maybe most people don't know. I'm certainly one of them.
Well, the Lusitania was the it boat back in the early 1900s. It was actually launched 8 years to the day from the day it sunk. May 7th, 2007, it was launched. Roughly the same size as the Titanic, just a little bit smaller, and was the premier cruise liner of the day. It held the blue ribbon for the fastest crossing of the Atlantic, and was, if you were anybody like Vanderbilt's or whoever, and you traveled by boat, it was by the Lusitania anytime up till 1911, 1912, when the Titanic and the other Olympic-class boats were launched.
Wow. And did we lose any well-known names on the Lusitania?
Actually, Alfred Vanderbilt, who was the richest man in all the Americas, died, by all accounts, helping women and children off the boat.
Oh, wow. The Lusitania sunk a lot quicker than the Titanic did, and that's part of the book, part of what you're trying to point out that may indicate a conspiracy?
Well, there's a lot of things that point to conspiracy. The sinking of the ship itself took less than 18 minutes. For a ship that's 45,000 displaced tons, that's an amazing number. The Titanic, which was about the same size, just a little bit bigger, had about 250 feet of holes below the waterline and took 2 hours and 40 minutes to sink. The Lusitania had one torpedo hole, which, would be somewhere around a 12 by 15 type of a hole, and it sank in 18 minutes. So,
wow.
That's part of the conspiracy theory.
Was it an explosive torpedo or just a bullet type of torpedo? In other words, did it explode upon impact?
They had explosive charges in the torpedo heads back then, but they weren't dramatically devastating like they would be today. It typically took a boat. They figured about anywhere between 3 and 7 hours to sink if it was hit by just one torpedo. And that's part of what are called the cruiser rules. Back then, they operated under a set of guidelines that if there were innocents aboard the ship, that they would disable the ship and allow time for the people to get off so that they didn't look barbaric and, kill innocent civilians. That's one of the things that's always been one of the mysteries, is how that ship sank in 18 minutes. Basically, the entire bottom of the boat was blown out by something. And one of the theories of that something is that there was a secret weapon aboard.
Oh, wow. Now, you chose to write this as a novel. Is that because you have to speculate on certain aspects of it, or did you write it as a novel so that we would embrace it better?
Well, a little of both. I mean, I wrote it so that it would be entertaining. The problem with nonfiction in a situation like this is there are so many unknowns that all you can talk about are things that are proof positive, and you don't give yourself the ability to speculate. In a conspiracy, especially, which all evidence points to a conspiracy, if you don't have the facts, and in conspiracies you typically wouldn't have the facts because they would have been, withheld and kept under a very cloak of secrecy, then you don't have the true story to tell. So I thought historical fiction would be a great way to tell this. I took a hypothesis of if there was a secret weapon aboard, who would have created it, what would have been like, what type of weapon it would have been, and kind of created the story based upon that. But it's about 75-80% historically accurate.
The notes that were provided to us say that there was ammunition being transported on the Lusitania. Is it, I guess, comment on that, but also is it possible that the ammunition contributed to the rapid sinking?
Well, the ammunition that they know of, there was about 3 million .303 shells, .303 caliber shells. Bullets wouldn't explode. You would have, once they were heated or once the gunpowder was ignited, you would have shells flying around. But they found 300, or a little over 3 million .303 shells on the ocean floor when they dove on the dove on the Lusitania, and they were intact. They were actually intact bullets. So the only theory that people who don't believe in conspiracy have is that coal dust ignited and blew the bottom of the boat out. But coal dust typically flashes. It doesn't typically explode. You put coal dust in a large room and it'll have a flash fire, which would incinerate anybody in the room, but it wouldn't blow the boat up. And that's,
gotcha.
I talked to a metallurgist, I talked to several people, and that's what the conclusion was.
Were the people that were going to be sailing on the ship aware that there was war really going on and that the ship might be passing through one of the war zones?
Actually, there was a notice that was put at the docks in New York saying that you basically enter the ship at your own risk, that, it could be a target and so forth. But, and here's where a lot of the conspiracy stuff comes in. All cruise ships, passenger ships at that time, were allotted a destroyer escort from the British government, the British Navy. And that escort had been standard practice from September of 1914. The war started in the end of August. So in September, they started destroyer escorts. And the Lusitania was the first time that an escort was not granted. It was basically pulled off. They had one scheduled for it, and it was pulled off.
Wow.
And so people felt fairly comfortable, even though the warnings were out there, because with a destroyer escort, it's very difficult for a U-boat, which has very low speed, about 7 knots, to attack a ship that should be going at about 24 knots with a destroyer on its side.
Wow.
The challenge we have is we have a short interview with you and so much information, and we need to take a little break. So let's take that break right now. And if you have any questions out there, call in. We have a very knowledgeable audience about many topics. They are knowledgeable about Tesla, so I want to make sure we get Tesla in on this conversation as well. Ronald J. Walters is our guest. The book he has written is called The Lusitania Conspiracy, an historical fiction thriller novel inspired by true events. And if you don't know anything about the Lusitania, this book will teach you about the Lusitania. We'll take a little break and be right back.
The weather is brought to you by myfwc.com. Safe boating is no accident. Today, sunshine mixing with some clouds and turning breezy this afternoon with a shower or thunderstorm in spots. Our high 84 to 89. Tonight, partly cloudy, a shower or thunderstorm around, low 66 to 73. Clouds and sunshine tomorrow with a shower or thunderstorm, high 85 to 89. Sunday, sunshine mixing with some clouds with a shower or thunderstorm in spots, high 85 to 91. From the Florida Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Steve Travis.
Are you in need of custom screen printing, embroidery, or promotional items? Then look no further and come visit the brand new Legacy Team Sales. LTS is conveniently located off 17th Street next to Armstrong Homes in beautiful Ocala. We offer the best prices and highest quality products for your company, team, school, or nonprofit. Whether looking for screen printed shirts, embroidered polos, or travel team uniforms, you'll be sure to find it at Legacy Team Sales. Come visit our new 27,000 square foot facility. Our friendly and knowledgeable sales staff will assist you in every part of your custom purchase. LTS carries the hottest brands in the industry like Under Armour, Russell, Mizuno, Asics, Badger Sports, Gildan, Pacific, Ogio, and many more. At LTS, screen printing embroidery is done in-house and we guarantee customer satisfaction. Stop by, give us a call, or check us out on the web at shoplts.com. Remember the name, LTS.
Hello, gorgeous.
Hi, this is Becky at Hello Gorgeous Salon. We are located in the heart of downtown Ocala, right next to the historic Marion Theater. I'd like to invite you to stop by and see our new boutique area and meet our staff of professional stylists. Here at Hello Gorgeous, we are ready to update your look with the latest trends. It's the perfect time to brighten up your look. So make your appointment now for those highlights and Brazilian blowout. But don't stop there. We are a full-service salon offering manicures, pedicures, and facials also. So if you've been searching for a salon to call your own, come and see us at Hello Gorgeous Salon. We are located at 48 South Magnolia Avenue in downtown Ocala, right next to the Marion Theater. So call today and set up your appointment at Hello Gorgeous Salon at 351-5358. That's 351-5358. And don't forget, we also do men and children's cuts too. 351-5358.
Hello, gorgeous.
All right, 12 minutes before 10 o'clock. Thank you for tuning in. Ronald J. Walters is on the phone. He is the author of a book called The Lusitania Conspiracy. He's a researcher and historian. And, you know, I couldn't tell you the difference. Looking at the photograph of the Lusitania, if you didn't have it labeled, I would think, well, that's the Titanic, because I don't know anything about these things. Somebody with more knowledge about boats probably could discern the difference between the two ships. But for those of you who don't know anything about it, it's sort of kind of, to me anyway, it looks like the Titanic.
Yeah.
Was it similar in size to the Titanic?
Yeah, the Lusitania is just a little bit smaller. They're both four-funnel boats. They both were. The Lusitania was about 45,000 displaced tons. The Titanic was about 48,000. So you're not talking about a great amount of difference. Passenger capacity was within 200. The Titanic was about 2,300, and the Lusitania was about 2,100 passengers, or people aboard. So you're looking at about the same size ship. 787 feet long was the Lusitania. The Titanic was about 930, I think, 940.
Wow, okay.
So about the same size.
Did Ireland have a navy? Because we had read that the Lusitania was warned that U-boats were in the area. So did Ireland have a navy that they could send ships out?
Actually, the British Navy patrolled the Irish waters. There wasn't much of a navy there, and the British Navy was the largest in the world. So basically, the British Admiralty patrolled all the waters and had far more ships than any other navy in the world.
All right, let's bring Tesla into this conversation. For the listeners, you got to get the book. We're never going to get everything covered in this radio interview. But talk about Tesla a little bit. I'm going to tell you something, and it might be total nonsense because I do a radio show and everybody calls me, so I don't know what to believe and what not to believe. But somebody once told me that Tesla had invented this explosive wavelength machine or something that would take out a full city block, for example, without an explosive but with wavelengths. I don't know if that's true, and does that play a role in any of this?
Absolutely true. It is. It's true, and it does. Yes, Tesla was the absolute genius and master of sound and electrical waves, and the oscillator, it's a harmonic oscillator. Basically, if you can take any malleable item in the world, whether it be wood, metal, flesh, anything, and had the right waves, you could control and make malleable that steel, that wood, what have you. So he created what they called the earthquake device, which the prototype, the first model was about the size of an alarm clock. And in the early 1900s, he actually took, it's still kind of one of those things that has a lot of fact backing it up, but no one can absolutely say that it was fact. But there's a story that goes that in 1909, he actually took that device and put it on a 3-story steel building that was being erected and tuned it to the right frequency and absolutely demolished that building in a matter of a few minutes. That technology is the basis for the secret weapon that I have in the book.
Okay. Now, and now that's speculation on your part, but how close to? I mean, how do we know how close to being dead on are you? Is there a way to know?
Well, there really isn't a way to know because the news service back then, there was no TV. There was radio was just getting started. So newspapers were the only way that things got reported, and usually they were very, very lax in covering things because they just didn't have the technology or manpower. But it's known that a building did come down, that the police did investigate, that they went to Tesla's lab to talk to him about it, and that it's been well documented in Tesla's the information that was garnered when they went through Tesla's
his journals,
his journals, that it did actually happen. He supposedly in 1920 also created a pulse weapon, which the Navy just announced last September or October that they finally got a pulse weapon to work and that it will be deployed for the first time in 2017 on a ship for testing. But supposedly 100 years prior to that, Tesla had already created a pulse weapon.
Wow.
So, he was a complete genius when it came to sound waves.
Wow. Now, would his connection to the Lusitania be indirect or direct? Did they recruit him, or did somebody take his inventions and use them for evil?
Well, that's where the historical fiction portion comes in. And what I did is I operated under the assumption that if there was a secret weapon, there was only one person who would have the technical expertise in 1914, 1915 to do that, and it would have been Tesla. So we don't know if there was a weapon aboard, a secret weapon. We know there were weapons, but if there was a secret weapon aboard, in my opinion, there's only one person that would have been able to create it, and that would have been Tesla. And if Tesla had created it, there would have been, without question, a very moral dilemma situation going on with him, in that he didn't like working for the government, but he needed funding for his other experiments.
Okay.
People say that they can get rich when there's a war. And do you think that Churchill or Admiral Fisher was one of the conspirators for the Lusitania? Has anybody brought that question out?
Well, actually, if you look at the back cover of my book, the quote that I use to, I guess, set the tone for the book is from a British naval intelligence officer named Patrick Beasley, who was tasked with investigating the Lusitania tragedy. And he said, with all the evidence that's there, there's only one conclusion that you can come to, and that conclusion is that this was a conspiracy, and the only person who would have been able to pull it off is Winston Churchill.
Wow. Because of his knowledge.
That comes from their own people.
Oh, my God.
Well, he was First Lord of the Admiralty, so he controlled so many aspects of it. The first aspect is Room 40, which was the code-breaking room. The code-breaking room, why that's important, is that they broke the German U-boat codes. Since there was no sonar, U-boats had to surface, unlike current submarines, very frequently to get actual land bearings, and they would report their position to the German High Command. Well, Churchill's group had broken that code, so whenever U-boats radioed back to Germany, where their location, the British knew their location at that point. So Churchill knew where the boat was. Someone, which there's only two people with the authority, would have been Jackie Fisher and Churchill, told the ship, instead of going with protocol in a straight line at full speed, to go, in a zigzag at full speed. They were told to go in a straight line at half speed, and they were actually led right up to the U-boat. And I think the most damaging evidence is the HMS Juno, which was a British ship that was moored off the coast of Ireland, heard the distress call, went to aid the Lusitania, and were ordered back to their mooring position told that they were not allowed to help.
Oh, wow. I have a copy of the book. It's called The Lusitania Conspiracy. It is a novel, but trust me, this is not your normal novel. This has lots of interesting stuff. I found it interesting also when his friend Mark Twain dies, and he's in the book, if I can remember right, he's got a very spiritual view of this, which many of us do, but I guess coming from Tesla, it's like, wait a minute, did he have an idea to communicate with the dead? I don't know, but I'm probably overstating what you put in the book, but it just made me wonder.
No, he actually had very strong feelings that he could communicate with the dead, or that he would be able to someday.
I wonder if he had something in the works that we could use. Can you imagine if we had that phone here right now?
Yeah.
Okay, call me if you want the copy that was sent to us. The rest of us have to go buy it. Let me give this one away. Good morning. You've got the book. Who's this?
This is Ann.
Ann, it'll be waiting for you here at the station, okay?
Okay, yeah, I'm going to get that. My son will just love it. He's got all the stuff about the Titanic, and my mother came to this country on a sister ship to the Titanic.
Oh, wow. Okay. Well, thank you. You've got the book. It'll be waiting for you.
Okay, bye.
Ronald, thank you for being on the air with us. Can you give us a website so we can look this up? And is it on Amazon, etc.?
Yes, it is. It's on Amazon, and the website is thelusitaniaconspiracy.com. And there are links there for both the hardcover and the e-books, which are available in each of the three formats.
Wow. Very, very cool. But what a wonderful topic. Thank you for being on the air with us. What's the next project? Can you tell us something that's in the works?
Well, getting this made into a movie is.
That would be awesome.
That would be great.
That would be awesome. You have to just get a little bit of a love story going on there.
Yeah.
Yes.
Ronald, thank you for being on the air with us. That was a fascinating interview. It just went too quickly. We'll take a little break.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. We'll be right back.
Broadcasting from the Paddock Mall Studios, this is WOCA, Ocala, Gainesville, The Villages, 1370 AM, 96.3 FM.